I was looking for a good deal on an electric standing desk. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I've always wanted a standing desk. I actually had a portable standing desk. I showed you that in a video to use at my work because when you're sitting down for a long time, your back can get stiff. It's not good. There's all sorts of health issues. The blood isn't flowing. And it's just nice to be able to stand and keep working. And, you know, it's an easy way to kind of stretch yourself out and stay productive. Now, while I am here at the Panda Research Institute, I don't have a standing desk. And so I thought, why not get one? And this one is actually a pretty good deal, and it's electric, so I don't have to manually crank it or lift it up, so I can have stuff on it, and I think it'll go nice and slow and not spill everything. Now, I do want to show this one to you. It's by UNICOO, not Unique or UNICO, UNICOO, and it came very, very quickly. And I think it's actually one of the better deals in standing desks because a lot of them are $200, $230, and they have a crank to lift them up, but this one was electric, so I'm really excited about that. Let's get this thing unboxed, set up, and try it out. So it comes packaged like this. It actually came pretty quickly, only a few days after I ordered it by UPS. And I will say it's pretty heavy. For whatever reason, UPS marked it as 11 pounds, but it is not 11 pounds. I'd call it more like 50 pounds. I was able to bring the box into the office here without any help, but certainly going to be a lot easier with two people. Here is how it comes. Looks like we have a power adapter right here. And looks like we have the little pass-through cover for cords, so you can plug in your laptop and have it run down the side. Looks like we have some ties and screws to hold everything together. Here are the legs. Looks like they're all painted or powder coated in gray. And this looks like it is the extension bar for twisting from the motor, which looks like it's right over there, to raise and lower it. So I'm just going to take everything out. And then we have the tabletop itself, and it looks like, for the most part, the brackets on the side are already attached to the table. It looks like this cross-member piece we will have to install ourselves, and then there is the rest of the power adapter, and it looks like the control panel is there too. So let's get this thing laid out. Okay, so the two leg posts aren't marked that well, but the first thing you're going to do is start with this side, and it has these little posts sticking out, so you know you're on the right track with this one. The other one doesn't have that. You're also going to need the motor here because we're going to install the motor like this onto this post, and you're going to need the attaching hardware. And the nice thing is they do separate for each of the steps the hardware you need in each of these bags. So you'll notice the two long screws here, two washers, and then also this bigger washer, this kind of gasket to attach it to the post. Let's get this installed. This little six-sided rod is going to go through this hole right there and the motor here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put it in here, and you can see this little pin that should stop it from going any further. Then this little rubber O-ring is going to go on top of that. That's going to create a nice little buffer. And then we are going to put this motor over this rod. You'll also want to make sure that you unravel the power cord here, and we are going to slide it on like this so that this hole is facing up. And it takes a little force to press this on, but you can see how these little posts will fit into the slots on the motor. And so this is going to abut right up against that. So you're gonna have to kind of just push it in and muscle it in. Now that we have the motor in place, we're just gonna take this washer and put it on this long screw. And then we are going to feed one in down here, and then the other one right up here. And then we are going to screw those down and tighten them up. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put the top down. Now, according to the instructions, this hole for running cords is going to be on the opposite side as the motor. So that's pretty easy to figure out. You're just going to install the motor leg over there. Now, this crossbar here actually is not going to be centered. You can see it has a little tab, which I believe is going to line up with that hole right there, just like that. And so you can see here on the side that's not going to match up with these holes because those holes are going to match up with the holes on the legs. So I'm going to put that in there. And then the flange right there is going to sit on top and get bolted to that cross member right there. So let's get everything tightened down. And pretty much all the screws that you're going to use here, including this one right there, are going to be the H screws, which should be from this bag, the M6 x 12. So M6 bolts, 12 millimeters long. Let's get to it. And then the other leg goes on the same way. This bracket will hold down that crossbar right there and then screw it down with the Allen key. Now we've got to put the feet on the legs, and they will go on like this, and you're supposed to use these eye screws, which are the M6 by 16 screws. So I think that's pretty straightforward. 4 on each side. Let's get to it. Okay, so I've got the legs on, and here's where I want to just show you a detail here. The feet on this are hard plastic. Now, because they're plastic, I don't think you're going to have to worry about them marring anything up, especially if you have like hard flooring, like tile or something like that. Wood flooring, you might worry a little bit about that. Also, because they're not a soft rubber, they might slide a little bit. So if you're worried about them marring, I might get some of those felt furniture pads and stick them right on the center here. And if you're worried about it sliding around, I might get some of the rubber ones and put them there too. But as you can see, just a hard plastic. And so something to think about depending on where you're setting the sucker up. Okay, now we're getting to the business end of this. Now we're going to put in this connecting rod so that we crank both sides evenly. You can see there's a little hole there. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to mount this in the side without the motor. So you're just going to push that into there. And you can see that this rod telescopes in and out. So you want this O-ring to be pushed all the way in, just like that. So yeah, that shows that it's in there like this. And then you want to adjust this out to put the sleeve over the rod over here, and then you're going to tighten it down. So now I have the sleeve pushed all the way over the rod there, and I have this O-ring pressed all the way in there. So now I'm just going to tighten these suckers down just to make sure that this rod doesn't collapse. There's one there, and then there's another one right here. All right, now we're going to mount this power transformer to the bottom. You can see where the little holes are right there. And one thing you're going to want is the 2-prong power cable side to point away from the motor. So the connector that connects to that motor cord is going to go on the inside there. And while the diagram doesn't specifically identify the screws that you're going to use for this, I think it's the same screws that we're going to use on the control panel. So it's this M4 by 10. So just use 2 of these screws. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be consistent on yours, but these little receivers for the screws are sunk too far down that hole. And so the screws aren't catching when I put them in there. They're just way too far down. So what you can do here is I'm going to take this Allen key and I'm going to try to back them out a little bit. I think they're just screwed down there, and make it so that they're a little more flush with the surface. And that will allow me to screw them in place. So if you're putting these ST4 screws in there and they're not reaching the bottom, just try to back it out a little bit so that the little grommet there is flush with the surface, and then try to reinstall it. Then the little control panel is going to go up here over these screws. So you will put those there, and then some more of these ST4 screws to hold her in. All right, guys, home stretch here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the cable from the control panel and I'm going to plug it into this little jack right there. I'm going to take the cable from the motor here and plug it into the only connector that will work here, just like that. And then I'm going to take the power cable and plug it into this side. And then any excess that you might have, you can use these little wire ties, use the double-sided tape to stick that under here, and then put the extra wire. And they give you a bunch of these, so if you have extra cables of any flavor, you can kind of bundle them up underneath the table. So I'm going to do that too. Sweet! So it's assembled. I do like this. It's kind of like a Formica top. It's got a nice wood look to it, but I think it's going to be really durable, especially when you're writing. You know, you don't have to worry about indenting it or leaving an impression, and, you know, putting a coffee cup or something like that on there. Obviously, we have the hole in the back here, so you can put this little cap there, run your cords through it, and, you know, keep it nice and clean looking. I like that the edge here is a little bit rolled, and this, you know, laminate type top is rolled all the way down, so you don't get like a seam right there. So it looks pretty good, and the gray legs look pretty nice. You can get it all in black too. Now here is the panel, and I love that it's kind of this glossy black, and it will show you what the height is when I tap on it. So 31.7 inches. You can get it to certain heights like this. Let's say I raise it there, and then I want to set it, hit set, and set number 1. So now it will always go back to this height. So if I lower it, and you can just hold it down like that, and I want to go back to setting number 1, just hit setting number 1 and boom, it goes all the way up. Now, if I hold it down like this, what I noticed is that there's a little momentum to it. So if I hold it down and release it, you can see that it kind of overshoots maybe a little bit. That might not be a problem, but if you want to really dial it in, you can just kind of do your little taps and it will move incrementally. So this is pretty awesome. If I move it up here, see how high it'll go. It goes pretty quick and it's nice and quiet. All right, let's go. This is way too tall for me, but if you're a tall person, you're gonna have no problems. I feel like I'm a kid at the bar right now, but I don't know, if you really want your hands high, that's pretty nice. But I don't know, for me as a standing desk, I'd probably put it, probably right about here. I don't know, 42 inches. This seems pretty good. Maybe even a little high because you're going to have a keyboard and stuff like that. So the nice thing is you can just dial it in, set it to whatever you want. I also love the fact that I don't have a crank. I mean, how often are you going to use a table if there's a crank to adjust it up and all the way back down? And 10 inches of travel can be a lot from a regular desk height to a standing desk. And so I think this is just going to make it that much more convenient. And like I said, the ones with the crank are like $220, $230. And this one was like $299. So $60 more. I got the full electronic control here, and it wasn't that hard to assemble, and I think it looks really good. So it's good for your health. I think especially if you're going to work from home, especially if you do a lot of digital work, word processing, customer support, a standing desk can be a really good investment in yourself. And it goes down, so you only really need one desk. Hey, this one is about 2 feet deep and 4 feet wide, and I think it's just about the perfect size for most home offices. So if you want to pick it up, I'll put a link to it in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.